BingX, a trusted global crypto exchange. Trade spot, futures, or copy top traders easily. Sign up via the link or referral code to get 30 USDT instantly, plus up to 1,500 USDT in bonuses for verification, deposit, and trading.
Blake Lively is making waves in legal documents related to her ongoing dispute with Justin Baldoni, naming a surprising roster of A-list celebrities. The actress's legal team submitted court filings in November, unsealing a list of prominent figures who may possess crucial information regarding her allegations of misconduct against her. It ends with as co-star. Among those cited are Hollywood heavyweights Emily Blunt and Hugh Jackman, fashion icon Gigi Hadid, music mogul Scooter Braun, and Italian heartthrob Michelle Moroni. Even Lively's own husband of 13 years, Ryan Reynolds, is named. The filing, obtained by E! News, also lists Lively's The Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants castmates Alexis Bledel, America Ferrera, and Amber Tamblyn, suggesting a deep well of potential witnesses. The inclusion of global superstar Taylor Swift is particularly noteworthy, as court documents indicate Baldoni initially claimed Lively had invited Swift to an asterisk it ends with as production meeting. Lively's team asserts that Swift, along with her close friends Ashley Avignon and the Hyam sisters, Estee, Alana, and Danielle, may possess knowledge pertaining to the parties' alleged conduct, discussions about the work environment, the film's production and creative process, and any alleged retaliation campaign against Ms. Lively and resulting damages. Gigi Hadid, a mutual friend of both Swift and Lively, could similarly provide insight into discussions surrounding the film's set environment. Beyond the celebrity sphere, figures directly involved in the film's creation, such as co-stars Jenny Slate and Isabella Ferrer, and the original book's author Colleen Hoover, are also named in the extensive document. Representatives for the individuals mentioned have been contacted for comment, though no responses have been received as of this report. Previously, Swift's representative vehemently denied any direct involvement in the film's production, stating in May that the subpoena was a tactic to generate tabloid attention and that Swift's sole connection was licensing her song, My Tears Ricochet. A judge later ruled that Swift would not be deposed, a decision that followed Baldoni's earlier attempt to have her testify. Lively's lawsuit accuses Baldoni of sexual harassment and creating a hostile work environment on the set of their 2024 film, alleging a retaliatory smear campaign was initiated when she raised concerns. Baldoni has denied these accusations, and his countersuit against Lively was dismissed in early June. The legal battle between Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni has escalated significantly since December 20, 2024, when Lively filed a California Civil Rights Department complaint against Baldoni and his production company, Wayfarer Associates, according to the New York Times. The complaint, obtained by E! News, named Baldoni, Wayfarer Studios, its CEO Jamie Heath, co-founder Steve Sarowitz, Baldoni's publicist Jennifer Abel and her company RWA Communications, crisis communications specialist Melissa Nathan and her firm The Agency Group PRLLC, along with contractor Jed Wallace and his company Street Relations Inc. As defendants, Lively alleged that Baldoni and his associates orchestrated a sophisticated press and digital plan in retaliation for her voicing concerns about alleged misconduct on set, describing invasive, unwelcome, unprofessional and sexually inappropriate behavior by Baldoni and Heath, which she claimed caused substantial personal and professional harm. The accusations span sexual harassment, retaliation, failure to investigate, aiding and abetting, breach of contract, intentional infliction of emotional distress, negligence, false light invasion of privacy, and interference with prospective economic advantage. The day after the complaint was filed, the New York Times published a report detailing the alleged retaliatory smear campaign, citing Lively's CRD complaint and including messages exchanged between Baldoni and his team. In a statement to the outlet, Lively expressed hope that her legal action would expose sinister retaliatory tactics used to harm those who speak out against misconduct. Brian Friedman, attorney for Baldoni and Wayfarer, vehemently denied Lively's allegations, calling them shameful, categorically false, and a desperate attempt to fix her negative reputation. He argued that the claims were intentionally salacious and aimed at publicly harming and rehashing a media narrative. Friedman also defended Wayfarer's decision to hire a crisis manager, stating it was a proactive measure to ensure factual reporting, not retaliation. He asserted that their communications were standard operating procedure for public relations professionals. The controversy intensified on December 21, 2024, when talent agency William Morris Endeavor, WME, dropped Baldoni following the New York Times report. WME clarified that Ryan Reynolds was not responsible for this decision, refuting Baldoni's later claim in a lawsuit against the New York Times. In the days that followed, several figures associated with it ends with us expressed their support for Lively. Author Colleen Hoover lauded Lively's honesty and kindness, while co-star Jenny Slate voiced her solidarity, calling the alleged attack on Lively's reputation terribly dark, disturbing, and wholly threatening. Brandon Sklenar, who played a love interest in the film, shared a link to the New York Times article, urging readers to investigate. Lively's Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants co-stars also issued a statement of support. Meanwhile, on December 23, Liz Plank announced her departure from the Man Enough podcast, which she co-hosted with Baldoni and Heath, citing a need to process recent events and remain committed to the values of calling out injustice. On December 24, Baldoni's former publicist Stephanie Jones and her agency JonesWorks LLC filed a lawsuit against Baldoni, Abel, Nathan, and Wayfarer, alleging a conspiracy to attack Jones and steal clients, and falsely pinning blame for a smear campaign on her. The lawsuit claims Abel and Nathan secretly coordinated with Baldoni and Wayfarer to implement a media smear campaign against Lively, then used the crisis to drive a wedge between Jones and Baldoni. JonesWorks had previously worked with Baldoni until last summer. Lively's attorneys confirmed they obtained key text messages through a subpoena to JonesWorks, while Friedman, representing Baldoni and his associates, indicated an intention to sue Jones for releasing those messages. The legal drama continued on December 31, 2024, when Baldoni, Wayfarer, and several associated individuals filed a $250 million lawsuit against the New York Times, accusing the newspaper of libel and other offenses for its reporting on the alleged smear campaign, which they deemed false and based on a self-serving narrative. The New York Times defended its reporting as meticulously and responsibly conducted. On the same day, Lively filed her own lawsuit against Baldoni, Wayfarer, and others, detailing allegations of sexual harassment and retaliation that mirrored her earlier CRD complaint. Her legal team stated that this lawsuit was not a ruse but demonstrated her intent to pursue legal action. In the ensuing days, Baldoni's attorney, Brian Friedman, expressed an intent to sue Lively, stating that other bad actors were involved. The legal back and forth intensified on January 7, 2025, as speculation arose about Ryan Reynolds' alleged trolling of Baldoni in Deadpool and Wolverine. Friedman criticized this speculation, arguing that serious allegations should not be trivialized. Lively's attorneys responded by emphasizing the gravity of her claims and denouncing tactics that shift blame onto the victim. They asserted that Baldoni's team's responses aimed to normalize and trivialize serious misconduct. In a surprising twist on January 16, 2025, Baldoni, Wayfarer, and others filed a lawsuit against Lively, Reynolds, and their publicist Leslie Sloan, accusing them of civil extortion, defamation, and false light invasion of privacy. While denying Lively's allegations, they alleged Lively seized control of the film and worked with Reynolds and Sloan to damage their reputations. Lively's legal team vehemently slammed this lawsuit as a tactic from the abuser playbook, using the Darvo method, deny, attack, reverse victim offender, to shift blame. They maintained that evidence would show other cast and crew members also had negative experiences with Baldoni and Wayfarer, and that Sony had asked Lively to oversee the film's cut. The legal representatives of Baldoni's team released behind-the-scenes footage from It Ends With Us on January 21, claiming it refuted Lively's characterization of his behavior. However, Lively's legal team countered that the footage corroborated her account, with Lively expressing discomfort and repeatedly asking for dialogue in the scene. On January 22, Lively and Reynolds requested a gag order against Baldoni's lead attorney, Brian Friedman, citing a desire to prevent improper conduct. The legal dispute took another turn on January 27, 2025, with the release of a 7-minute voice memo allegedly sent by Baldoni to Lively. In the memo, Baldoni appeared to discuss Lively's script revisions, her meeting with Reynolds and Taylor Swift, and apologized for his reaction, admitting, "I f***ed up." On the same day, a trial date was set for March 9, 2026. Baldoni's team further amended their counterclaim on January 31, 2025, adding the New York Times to their lawsuit and accusing Lively and her team of colluding with the newspaper to feed falsehoods and mislead the public. The New York Times' role in the unfolding drama led to a motion to dismiss itself from the lawsuit. On February 28, arguing it should not be a party to the dispute, on March 4, a judge granted the New York Times request for a stay of discovery, finding substantial grounds for their motion to dismiss. In May 2025, Baldoni's team attempted to subpoena Taylor Swift again, but her representative reiterated her limited involvement with the film, emphasizing her role was solely licensing a song. Baldoni's attorneys later withdrew their request on June 9, 2025. A judge granted a motion to dismiss Baldoni's countersuit against Lively, Reynolds, and others, finding that they failed to prove allegations of defamation or civil extortion. Lively expressed her relief and gratitude on Instagram stories, highlighting the financial and emotional toll of retaliatory lawsuits. Baldoni's attorney, however, called Lively's declaration of victory false. Lively was deposed on July 31, 2025, at her attorney's New York office, with her legal team refuting media narratives of a face-to-face showdown and clarifying that Baldoni was present during the deposition. On February 18, 2025, Lively filed an amended complaint, alleging that two other women who worked on It Ends With Us also felt uncomfortable with Baldoni's behavior on set, stating that her experiences were documented and acknowledged by Baldoni at the time. Her legal team cited a dangerous climate of threats, harassment, and intimidation fueled by the defendant's retaliation campaign as the reason for not naming the witnesses. Baldoni's attorney dismissed the complaint as unsubstantial hearsay and suggested the unidentified witnesses were no longer willing to support Lively's claims. On February 20, Lively and Reynolds' publicist, Leslie Sloan, requested to be dropped from the lawsuit, with her attorney arguing there was no basis for the accusations against her and that she was dragged into the suit as a distraction. On February 28, Lively brought on board Nick Shapiro, a former CIA deputy chief of staff, to advise on her legal communications strategy. The New York Times also filed a motion to exit the lawsuit on the same day, asserting that Baldoni's team presented a one-sided narrative and that the newspaper should not be involved in the dispute. A judge granted the New York Times request for a stay of discovery on March 4, citing substantial grounds for their motion to dismiss and noting that Baldoni's team would not be unfairly prejudiced. A spokesperson for the New York Times welcomed the decision, emphasizing the First Amendment values at stake. In May, Baldoni's team's attempt to subpoena Taylor Swift was withdrawn. On June 9, Baldoni's countersuit against Lively, Reynolds, and others was dismissed by a judge who found no proof of defamation or civil extortion. Lively shared her relief, noting the challenges faced by those without the resources to fight such legal battles. Baldoni's attorney, however, disputed her predictable declaration of victory. On July 31, Lively underwent a deposition, with her attorneys clarifying that Baldoni was present. Contrary to media reports,